Привет, Агдаги, привет, Игорь, привет, Монорох. Монорох, что-то тебя давно не было видно. Вообще. Ну и сегодня, конечно, не веснот, во всяком случае, не в течение ближайшего часа. Напишите, все ли нормально со звуком, пожалуйста. И если все нормально, то я начну. Ну, будем считать, что все нормально, да. В общем. Так, хорошо, значит, еще раз. Надеюсь, со звуком все нормально. Значит, план такой же, как в прошлый раз.
That'll be safe, will it? Oh, wait, you're there. That'll be safe, will it? Oh, come on there. That'll be safe, will it?
Надо пробежать вот этот участок как можно быстрее. И вот туда попасть. Потому что там можно... Окей. Окей, отлично.
What do you want me to do? Oh, all right then.
Отлично.
Huh? Say goodbye forever. And what now? He put up a fight. What is it? On my way.
Is it something bad? Hey.
Хорошо. И, в общем, тот же план. Сидеть здесь, выманивать, потом выходить на вылазки, убивать лучников и снова возвращаться сюда. Пока, соответственно, всех лучников не вынесем.
I didn't hit you very hard.
Finally over.
Who's next? And again, huh?
Yes.
What is it?
And what now?
Too easy. Next, huh?
Yes. Help! Help!
Ой-ой-ой, вот это сольется как-то.
And again.
Maybe it's better there.
Huh? Yes?
Нет, ты там не вздумай заливаться.
Hey!
No! Are you inside?
Give me a hand! Ow! Hey! I'm with you! Ow! Another one bites the dust!
О,
Huh?
вот это, конечно, жесть.
What is it? With pleasure.
Is it something bad?
What is it?
Yes?
I am Bowendahl. Give me a hand. Huh?
Не-не-не, вот
All
сюда.
right. Say goodbye forever. Huh?
А, вот сюда надо прыгать.
Yes, yes. So.
Вот так вот, раз и два. Угу. И этим
вот.
тоже нужно назад.
Yes.
А вот этим мы раздаем.
I didn't hit you very hard. Ow! Hey! I always hit you pretty hard.
Так.
Is it something bad?
Killed.
Там вроде не остался орк. Разве остались? Тут никто не остался.
What is it?
А вот так. Я понял.
Yes. And what now?
Окей.
Yes.
И еще раз.
What do you want me to do?
Another one bites the dust. I didn't hit you very hard.
Что в этот раз, как в прошлый раз у меня получилось, гораздо лучше. Все. Ходим. Регенимся. И как только отрегенимся, и отрегеним способности, сразу надо вот этих вот лукарей убивать. Окей, поехали. Угу.
He hardly put up a fight.
Так.
Pavrakas. What is it? What is it?
Is it something bad? Hey!
Huh? Yes. Another one bites the dust. What is it?
Пора отсюда ловить. Обратно.
What do you want me to do?
Давай.
Oh, all right then. And that'll be safe, will it? Oh, all right then.
Вот так вот.
And what now? Oink, oink, little piggies!
Yes? Hey!
I didn't hit you very hard! Too easy!
Oh, you weren't expecting that, were you?
Who's next? Another
Да,
one
ну,
bites the dust!
Этот
I didn't hit you very
кусок
hard!
зачищен. Хорошо.
Huh?
Еще один ни Диомеда, ни Мнодио, никого. Ни Бриджа. Интересно. Так. Дальше. Здесь кто-нибудь остался? Нет. Значит, здесь никого не осталось, да? Окей.
What is it? End it!
What do you want me to do? Hey!
Who's next? I'm with you! Yes, yes!
А, и вот эти вот товарищи здесь стоят, я понял.
I'm with you.
И теперь надо отсюда сваливать.
I'm with you. What is it? Good as done.
Нам вниз теперь. Вот тех. Брать.
That'll be safe, will it?
Forever. What is it? What's the dust?
Yes, yes. Is it something bad? Hey.
Yes? I didn't hit you very hard. Huh?
Yes, understood. I got one.
Окей.
He hardly put up a fight. Oink, oink, little piggies! Who's next? He hardly put up a fight.
Окей. Остался один лучший.
He's pretty big. Is that a good idea?
Who's next?
Все, валим отсюда. Теперь остается та часть, на которой я вчера в субботу залез. Это вот те. Окей. Поехали.
Yes. Hey.
And what now? Who's next? What is it?
Пора валить отсюда. Ой, он сейчас залез.
Of course.
That'll be safe, will it?
What is it?
That'll be safe, will it?
And what now? What is it? Yes? As good as done.
Окей.
Right then.
What is it? I'm with you on my way. Yes.
Пушка номер 2.
That'll be safe, will it?
On my way. Huh?
Так, еще раз сюда прыгаем. Нет, прыгаем и врубаем вот эту штуку.
Yes, yes. Huh?
Is it something bad? Hey.
Huh? Oh,
О, отлично. Давай. Не-не-не.
and what now?
Берсерка врубил. Это
I'm with
ГГ.
you. On my way.
Валим.
Yes, yes. I'm with you. On my way.
Yes. All right. That'll be safe, will it?
Yes.
What do you want me to do?
Huh? Vile creature. As good as done. Oh, what bad luck for you. What now?
Отлично.
I'm with you. Huh? As good as done. Say goodbye forever.
Yes. You're going to leave me here to perish. Is it something bad?
What is it? With pleasure. Say goodbye forever. With pleasure.
Какой жесткий человек.
Is it something bad?
Yes.
А,
Say
он
goodbye
почему-то
forever.
резистит. Я понял, он резистит оглушение.
Yeah.
Yes.
On my way.
Хорошо. Разделимся. Вон они там. Но зато вот эти все зачищены.
What do you want me to do? And that'll be safe, will it? Oh, all right then. Hey. And that'll be safe, will it? Maybe it's better there. He's pretty big.
Fire you! Love for you!
Готов.
That'll be safe, will it?
По одному придется выманивать, что ли? Давайте все сюда.
That'll be safe, will it?
Во-во-во, вот это так лучше.
That'll be safe, will it?
Так, теперь стоп.
What do you
Ты кидаешь
want me
сюда
to do?
стекляшки.
What is it?
Ты возвращаешься сюда. И вот так вот.
As good as done. Oh, what bad luck for you! Who's next? And what now? Oink, oink, little piggies!
Hey,
What is it?
is it finally over?
With pleasure.
Понятно. Есть товарищи, которые, я не знаю,
You
которые
weren't expecting
блокируют,
that, were you? Too
соответственно,
easy. With
они
pleasure.
блокируют
And again.
оглушение.
That'll be safe, will it?
Много там еще? Их там дофига, вон там еще пашный лучников. Дикий хардкор это на высокой сложности. Так, давай. Во. Вот этих двоих уберу, а потом уже пашный лучник.
That'll be safe, will it?
As good as done. Kill. Huh? Yes. Yeah. And what now? What is it? Huh?
That'll be safe, will it?
Соединимся.
What is it?
That'll be safe, will
Туда.
it? That'll be safe, will it?
Так. Ага.
What is it? Huzzah! I'm with you.
Вон там их еще очень много.
And what is it?
Отходим.
That'll be safe, will it?
Вай. А вы там не регенятся? Я понял. Это очень плохо.
That'll be safe, will it?
Yes? He hardly put up a fight.
Если они регенятся, страта не работает.
Is it something bad?
Точнее, нельзя долго сидеть на одном месте.
Pleasure.
Надо здесь сражаться.
That'll be safe, will it? Yes.
Ну,
What is it?
да.
Huh? I need help over here, quickly. Yes?
Is it something bad?
Yes? On my way.
Давай сюда. Давай. Пожалуйста, ну не тупи.
At once.
Yes.
Huh? What is it?
Is it something?
Ow! Another one bites the
What do you
dust.
want me to do?
Bowengar, give me a hand.
I knew it.
And what
You're
now?
going to leave me here to perish. Is it finally over? Hey!
Yes, on my way. With pleasure. I didn't hit you very hard.
You weren't expecting that, were you? No.
With pleasure.
If you insist.
What is it?
Жесть просто.
That'll be safe, will it?
Huh?
All right, then.
Bad luck for you.
Maybe it's better there.
Они там регенятся и вообще.
What is it? On my way. Kill. As good as done. Huh?
Окей. Значит, обратно нельзя.
That'll
Вперед.
be safe, will it?
Of course.
Then.
Fire, you. Luck for you. Of course. And die forever.
Good idea.
Who's next? Yes? As good as done.
Это было лишнего. Так, все, вперед.
On my way. Fire, you. Luck for you.
Нужно найти еще одну. А, он туда нужен. Я понял. Окей.
Is it something bad? Hey, what do you want me to do? Of course. That'll be safe, will it?
Так.
Yes.
Huh? Huh?
What do you want me to do?
Ты спрячься там.
What is it?
Ты тоже туда.
Yes.
И ты тоже
On my
туда.
way. Too easy.
Хорошо.
Yes.
Не сапент, нет. Сегодня, скорее всего, нет. Завтра. Привет.
Is it something bad? Hey.
Huh? At once. What is it? On my way. Yes.
Of course. What do
Так,
you
попробуем
want
вот
me
так.
to do?
Может, это сработает.
Is it something?
Huh? What is it? All right. And again. Huh? Ow! Another one bites the dust. With pleasure. And what now? Vile creature. Too easy.
Кажется, прошли.
Huzzah! Kill.
Да. The greatest battle. Achievement unlocked. Прикольно. Куча опыта. Окей. И теперь мы идем в Торбрук.
The village seems much emptier than on your last visit. Most of the workers must now be underground.
Так, и теперь в Ситон идем.
As on the previous evening, Bavragor sits apart from the others. But tonight, he waves you over.
Smeralda, my sister. You want to know what happened, right?
You nod and sit down.
She followed Boindle into battle. We tried to talk her out of it, but she was as unyielding as a mountain. Then came the day when the High Pass was attacked.
Bavragor drinks from his liquor.
He killed her. Blinded by the frenzy of battle, he thought she was one of the enemy. I could never forgive him. He killed my sister. Could you?
You inevitably remember the loss of Lot Yonan, Frala, and her children. You remain sitting in silence, each of you deep in thought. Boendal approaches, having either heard you or guessing what you were talking about.
His fierce life forge is a curse. He thought the orcs had robbed him of his love, and the ire came over him. Sometimes he calls her name in his dreams. Oh, he'd never admit it, but he suffers just like Bavragor. He too loved her.
The stonemason doesn't react, so you and Boendal go back to the others by the fire. When you enter the pretty little village with its richly ornate houses and its temple to Palandial at its centre, you can see an angry mob some distance away. The villagers are hassling a young woman, insulting her and pushing her to the ground. You push your way through the crowd of people and stand in the way of the villagers.
What's going on here?
A man dressed in richly decorated vestments looks you up and down.
Palandir be with you, dwarf. It is none of your business, but this woman here is a thief. She and her henchmen have emptied the monastery's granary and were willing to abandon us to our fate.
That's a lie. We asked for help and these people turned us away. I came back to ask again.
What evidence do you have against this woman?
We found the granary broken into. Almost a third of our grain and a significant amount of supplies have gone. And all this just one day after she and her people were snooping around here.
That isn't proof. It could simply be coincidence. Anyway, why would a thief come back to the scene of a crime?
The priest eyes you in silence, while some of the villagers make it clear that dwarves should keep their noses out of their business.
Tell us what happened.
The villagers grumble, but the priest gives the woman a chance to defend herself.
My name is Tavia. I was forced to flee Tabayin with my family when the perished land began to spread. My husband, we had to leave him behind.
The horror in the woman's eyes gives you a good idea as to what became of her husband.
No one accepted us in the north. There are too many refugees and everyone is scared. Queen Wei has offered land in Wayan to anyone who will work hard for it. But what should we grow if no one will sell us grain? We offered a fair price, but Father Mallan...
She darts a scathing gaze at the priest.
He wanted double the amount.
The priest glances briefly at the angry villagers. Then he replies in a firm voice.
It was a hard winter, and with the increasing frequency of orc attacks, we must think of ourselves first and foremost. Even we cannot help everyone.
The bystanders mutter in agreement.
The accusations are serious, so let's get to the bottom of the matter to be completely sure.
We have no doubt that she did it.
The priest looks at the villagers standing around him, the lust for blood written in their faces.
On the other hand, before we do something we can't undo...
Dissatisfied murmuring grows, which the priest debates with mollifying gestures.
Search for your evidence. You there, lock this woman up in the guardhouse in the meantime.
The woman is taken into a squat building made of rough blocks of stone. The crowd slowly disbands. The priest is lost in thoughts, standing in front of the temple, as if he couldn't decide whether to go in or not.
I was wondering, what was here first, the temple or the village?
Ah, a keen eye. The temple is indeed much too big for such a small village. It was built on the foundations of an old stronghold when salt was found nearby. The village has grown over the years in the shadow of the temple. Good people live here, honest and pious children of Palandir.
He glances at the place where the woman was surrounded.
Why can't we just be left in peace?
Supposing Tavia really did steal the grain and supplies, but only to save her family, would you turn a blind eye?
Palandir teaches generosity, but that too must have its boundaries. We cannot help everyone. At some point there won't be enough for us.
So, if you had sold the grain, the people of Seaton would have starved?
Maybe not. Not yet. But if we always give everything we have away...
No one is saying always, and no one is saying everything.
The priest shrugs his shoulders apologetically. He doesn't wish to spoil things with his flock. You nod goodbye, and the priest returns the gesture. You enter the village's large storehouse. The ground floor of the two-story building is full of turnips, with large barrels and clay pots on the floor and on high shelves. Several villagers are carrying out stock-taking. They're being supervised by a weedy man who observes them with a grim expression and writes things on a wax tablet every now and then. Work is in full swing. The man with the wax tablet grumbles now and then in agreement when one of the peasants shouts out a number to him. It shouldn't take too much longer until they finish the inventory. There are sacks piled up on top of one another on the first floor. They are most likely filled with different kinds of grain and, judging by the omnipresent white dust, flour. You look around for a portable source of light.
Can anyone see a candle or a torch? I need a light.
I wouldn't recommend that.
The Magister Technicus has followed you into the storehouse.
One spark could ignite the flour dust. We sometimes use the effect when we want to create huge balls of fire on the stage.
I think we could do without huge balls of fire in here.
You walk towards the only area in the storeroom where you can see the floorboards. You hesitate as your boots slip on the floor, as if you're walking on mud.
Tungdil.
The Magister Technicus carefully observes the roof beams above the empty corner. He grabs at a beam and crumbles something between his fingers. You can't make out what it is, so you copy him and feel damp, rotten wood. It's very easy to pull away small pieces.
What are you doing here?
The man with the wax tablet is standing on the stairs. He sounds half angry, half shocked.
No one is allowed in here.
Привет, Демет.
Who are you? And what are you doing here if no one is allowed to be here?
I'm allowed to be here. It's my job. I'm the steward of the temple. Morris is my name.
The rain has gotten here. The roof and the floor are damp.
Those savages! It wasn't enough that they steal from us. They had to damage the roof too. That was probably where they got in.
The wood didn't start to rot yesterday, good man.
The steward's face turns bright red.
And you are the experts on such things, are you?
Assuming the roof here has been leaky for a long time, what would have happened to the grain in the sacks directly underneath? Wouldn't it have turned rotten?
The man wets his lips. His gaze darts around the room.
The roof was fine. I'll have it repaired. And now, get out of here!
The steward angrily blocks off all further attempts at talking to him, and even when you threaten him with Father Malin, it doesn't have the desired effect. The father trusts in him, he says, and he's always been a devout follower. The heavy door of the storehouse closes behind you, and you hear a bolt sliding into place from the inside. You enter the guardhouse, and before the guards know, Boindil and Boendal have caught them up in a friendly conversation. Shielded from the view of the guards, you exchange a few words with the suspect without being disturbed.
Why did you come back to the village?
I wanted to negotiate with Father Malin for the grain. What else could I do? No sooner had I arrived than they surrounded me and accused me of robbery.
Where have you taken the grain and supplies?
I don't know anything about grain or supplies. Apart from the fact that we could do with both, I'm telling you, I am innocent.
We won't let anyone do anything to you, but if we are going to help you, you will have to tell us the truth.
The woman looks you in the face, then her head sinks, and when she looks back up, she has tears in her eyes.
Please, I just want to go back to my family. I don't know what happened.
You feel sympathy towards the woman. You raise your hand to silence Rodario and nod to the woman to continue talking.
We asked for grain and were full of hope when we saw the well-filled granary. But we hadn't reckoned on the malice of the people here.
A slow, ironic clap sounds from behind you. Confused, you turn around to face Rodario.
Bravo, my dear, with tears and everything. Tough luck that a master of the art of acting is present. None of what she said corresponds with the truth, Tungdil. She is lying and trying to deceive us. Not completely talentless for an amateur.
You expect the woman to deny everything, but when she overcomes her amazement, She spits in the actor's face.
And what if I am? I would do it all again. The people here have more than they need and my people are starving. Is that fair?
Why did you come back here after stealing the grain and supplies?
Да, вот это тоже интересно.
We didn't steal them. We paid for them. A reasonable price, just not to Father Malin.
Я понял.
You had help.
He promised us 3 dozen sacks of grain. When we opened the sacks in our hideout, we realised that most of the grain was rotten. He thought he'd get away with it.
The woman looks around wearily.
And by the looks of things, he has.
Morris the steward offered you the grain, didn't he?
What does that matter? I've no proof it was him. And even if I did, if I admit that we have the stuff, I'll be hanging from a tree by this evening and my children will starve. I beg you, let me go. We bought the grain and the supplies. Perhaps he wasn't allowed to sell it to us. But we paid. And with a little seed we can sow, at least some of us have a chance of surviving the year.
Давайте ее отпустим.
I don't want you to be hanged just because you tried to support your family. Go.
You open the door. The guards jump up, take up their swords, and let their hands sink down again when they feel the axes of the dwarves against their throats. The woman lays a hand on your shoulder for a moment as a sign of gratitude before she runs from the guardhouse.
I hope you know what you're doing, scholar.
Rodario's furrowed brow does not give you the feeling you've made an undisputed decision.
Можно отправиться за ними или... Давайте отправим...
Namora, find out where she's heading and then rejoin us.
Fergus wants to raise an objection, but before he can think of the right words, Namora has kissed him on the mouth and has disappeared round the next corner. You leave the guardhouse and explain your plan to Father Malin. You expect him to object, but he seems to be satisfied. You assume he'll make you responsible for everything if something goes wrong, and will claim a piece for himself if you are successful. Like every night in the wilderness, you set up camp and assign the watch. Bavragor takes first watch this evening, while the rest of you sit by a small fire, toasting some bread. You're not particularly surprised that neither Bavragor nor any of the others notice the guest who suddenly appears out of the darkness next to you.
Namora!
Fergus jumps up, and moments later has embraced her tightly.
Were you able to find out anything?
She didn't detect me and led me straight to the hideout. I can show you. It's a cave some miles off from the path. Almost 4 dozen people, men, women and children.
You nod. You have tracked down Tavia's hideout.
И где оно? Вот тут вот. Разбойничье логово. Так, хорошо, оно тут. Давайте посчитаем. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Идем через...
Your path leads you once again to the Minstrel Castle Tavern. The warm, familial glimmer from inside is, as ever, inviting. You leave the Minstrel Castle behind you and continue on your way. The familiar jetty is empty, but you can see Samuel on his boat, halfway between here and Polbrook, and you call him over.
So, we meet again. You want to get across to the other side, I presume? I'll ferry you across for 10 provisions or 20 gold.
Okay.
You give Samuel the gold, and after a long discussion with the dwarves in the group, you follow him onto the boat. The dwarves literally leap out of the boat as soon as you reach dry land.
We could have died! I hope it was worthwhile, scholar!
Ну так, наверное, да, окей. Вот это что? Хорошо, давайте так, а на обратном мы вот так пойдем. Окей. Я просто посчитал, подумал, как лучше сделать. Хорошо.
You can make out a cave in the bank of a dried-out riverbed, with several small fires burning in it. You don't see any guards, so you approach carefully. Men and women jump as they notice you. There is terror written in their emaciated faces. When a little girl screams and runs away from you, the whole camp is alerted, and a group of men and women step out of the cave.
Is that them? Your benefactors?
Tavia, who came out of the cave next to the man, nods.
You've led them straight here.
Who are you?
The man resembles Tavia. His face too tells of a struggle between defiant determination and fatigue and resignation.
I am Gerald, Tavia's brother. I led these people here from Tabayin.
You look around you. You guess there are about 10 families, less than 50 people. Half of them are children and youths.
Okay.
Your sister couldn't have known that she was being followed. Namora has quite a talent for not being seen.
She shouldn't even have gone to Seaton in the first place. I knew that nothing good would come of it.
Tabayin is a fertile country in the north, but much more importantly these days, it borders the Perish land to the east.
How are things in Tabayin?
Gerald's expression changes. It's as if he's looking through you.
The Perish land is raging. It poisons the spirit, and those who become possessed by it just...
Gerald looks at his hands, which he involuntarily forms into claws.
They no longer recognize you. Brothers, mothers, children. My brother-in-law. I had to...
With visible effort, he wrenches himself free of his terrible memories.
We can only hope that the Magi manage to build a new barrier soon.
You cannot bring yourself to quash the last hope he has.
Tavia went to Seaton on her own initiative.
Our gold was gone and our supplies were dwindling, despite being on half rations. I said we should just take what we need if no one is going to help us, but my sister wouldn't have anything to do with it. She took the wedding jewellery from our village, the most valuable thing we had with us, and sold it without my knowing. She then took this money and went to Seaton with several men. I was completely beside myself when I heard about it, but then they came back with food and grain, and I thought they had really done it.
He laughs cheerlessly and shakes his head.
For a few minutes we thought we were saved.
What's wrong with the grain from Seaton?
We thought we finally had a change of luck for the better. We were praying for a new start, but then we discovered that most of the grain was rotten and unusable. They'd been ripped off by the bloody steward. We all got together and discussed what was to be done. The majority was in favour of going to Seaton and taking what was due, at any price. The next morning, Tavia disappeared. It was clear to me that she had returned to Seaton. We were going to give her a couple of days, and in the meantime, we prepared for our attack. We needed weapons, and we needed a plan.
The supplies and the grain, where are they?
Gerald glances at your companions.
The grain is mainly useless. There's only 4 or 5 usable sacks. We shared out the supplies, and that'll keep us going for the next few weeks.
If you return the grain, Father Malin may temper justice with mercy.
Mercy?
Gerald spits at the floor.
Let my people starve so that the people in Seaton can live in affluence for another year? No, I won't let my family die. The grain and the supplies stay here.
Gerald braces himself, placing his right hand on his axe.
Вот, это самый лучший вариант, да. Давайте это.
We should appease the people of Seaton. Give them back half their grain.
You raise your hand to nip Gerald's objection in the bud.
I'm, of course, talking about the rotten grain. You keep the good grain, we will receive at least part of our reward, and Morris will be forced to explain how his excellent grain could turn rotten so quickly.
Boindale stares at you. Then a grin slowly spreads across his face.
Ha! That's our scholar!
You see tired but happy faces all around you. The people breathe a collective sigh of relief.
We'll take half of the grain back in secret. Know this, good dwarf. Whenever you need help, we will stand by your side. We don't have much to offer you, but we can muster together a few strong arms for battle, and we have some outstanding archers.
You nod, and are happy to have made some new friends.
So long, my friend.
Так, теперь я думаю, пойдем вот сюда. Давайте сохранимся. Ой-ой-ой. Тут нет или есть? Есть, кажется. Отлично.
The size of the fields and the farmsteads grow as you get closer to Valenciensis, the old border city in the north. The old city wall is much too small for the size of today's settlement. Everywhere little cottages, and even the odd magnificent estate, extend beyond the wall.
Valenciensis. This city is home to the Grand Archive. There are countless works from all over Girdlegard here. I wonder whether we'll be allowed to go in.
You try to gain access to the city, but the guards on the wall are unyielding. The Orc armies in the south and the movement of the Perish land has prompted the city council to lock Valenciensis up. You try not to show your disappointment, but Boindale looks at you curiously.
Is a house full of dusty books really that important, scholar? That's no place for a dwarf.
There are also books by dwarves and about dwarves in that archive. They've practically got everything that has ever been written. They've even got notes on the races of Girdlegard, singularities and oddities, by M.A. Het.
A book about dwarves? That really can't be any good at all.
You leave the impressive city of Valenciensis behind you and continue on your way.
Ладя, я надеюсь, я там не навалял дурака.
The familiar jet.
So, we...
Так, пока не
Not at the
нужно.
moment, thank you.
Oh, well, no skin off my nose. If you change your mind, you know where to find me.
Так, теперь нам надо в таверну и закупить припасы.
Your path leads you once again to the You enter the tavern again.
Так.
You go to the bar where the landlady is working and sit on a...
А припасы есть? Припасов нету? Лол, у нее припасов нету. А вот это реально плохо.
You nod at the landlady. Bavragor.
Окей, идем сюда. Сюда. И сюда.
You discover some ancient ruins and an orc camp in a gorge. A small group of Bognalim is moving between tents, piles of rubbish and cages. In one of the cages, you think you can make out some movement.
Ну, конечно. Давайте.
They're coming out the holes.
You there, my bag! Over there! Quick! You'll have to smoke them out!
Yes?
Окей, тогда...
Grenades! Throw them into the holes. That'll just stop the little beasts. On my way. Understood.
Окей, то есть мне нужно делать так.
Another one bites the dust.
А где вторая?
I didn't hit you very hard.
At once.
Окей, сразу две.
On my way.
Вон еще одна.
At once. Understood. I got one. At once. On my way. At once.
Не-не-не-не-не-не.
On my way. Previously,
Another one bites the dust.
Так.
And again.
Окей, теперь мне нужно оставшихся вот так вот.
Oh, you weren't expecting that, were you?
Ой, господи, тут его носят.
Vile creature!
I'm not that quick. What is it?
Окей. Это какой-то очень легкий файт, мне
And again.
кажется.
And what now?
Vile creature!
Of course. Kill. I'm
Они
with you.
сами со всеми
And
разберутся.
again.
Все, готово. Окей. Очень легко.
Very impressive, I must say. Let me out, my friends.
О, припасов нашли. Окей. А вот можно открыть дверь.
Oh, thank you. Have you seen Helga? Helga? Helga! What are you?
A pile of wood? Or is it actually a pyre? All right.
Что я не понял, что я сделал.
Hello. I am Tungdil Goldhand. These are my companions Boindil, Boendal, Rodario, Fergus and Namora, Bavragor and Goimgar.
Have you seen Helga?
No, we haven't. If you don't mind me asking, what is your name?
Call me Ensign and drop the pleasantries.
If I may, who is this Helga?
Helga? Where?
I don't know. I just wanted to know.
Helga is my wife. Didn't I mention that? We came here together, but then the orcs came and she was gone. Do you think she might have gone home? Helga!
You have a dark notion of what might have happened to Helga, but as you have no proof, you'd rather
Тоже
say
я
nothing.
завалил крест.
If you see her, you'll let me know, right?
I wanted to thank you. Your grenades really helped us.
Grenades? Oh, yeah, no problem. I used them to break up boulders, but I ended up attracting these pests. Who was to know there are Bognolum around here? And as if that weren't bad enough, along came the orcs and took me ox skull. Gosh! And Helga, where is Helga?
А, кажется, я завалил крест.
What brings you to these parts, Ensign? Not exactly the nicest of places.
Aren't you here for the festival? The unbelievable Wackenstein Festival? My wife and I desperately wanted to see it for ourselves. The blind guardian, the statue over there, is the key. He calls people from far and wide to the festival. I finally found some information in the archives of Virensiensis as to how the guardian is activated.
So what have you found out about the festival, Henson?
You see that statue? That's the blind guardian. You could call him the patron saint of Wackenstein. They say that when the festival begins, then the revellers heed his call from all corners of the earth. According to my research, we need 3 things to start the festival. A burning ox skull, the fire-eater bell, and vervain. I actually had it all, but, well, then the orcs came.
Vervain, doesn't that grow in Ergon? A hell of a long way from here.
Ha! Don't worry. I have a bag, where, just a minute. It's gone.
You lost it?
Well, lost. I mean, you know, briefly mislaid, perhaps. Must be here somewhere.
It should be easy to find an ox's skull. All we have to do is find a butcher.
Oh, it can't just be any old ox skull. It needs special decorations and engravings. Took me weeks to prepare that skull. Then the orcs came and took it. Must have thought it had some value.
Is it this one here?
Stone the crows, you already have it. Excellent. That is a good omen.
And what do we do with it?
Oh, well, that's simple. The ox skull must be set on fire.
You're not sure what kind of celebration needs a burning ox skull, but the mission doesn't sound too difficult.
Where will we find the fire-eater bell, and what kind of a name is that anyway?
Virensiensis. I tracked you down to a collector who lives outside the city in an estate on the south wall. According to the legend, the bell was mounted in a black tower. The tower caught fire. The bell fell down and smothered the source of the fire. Now I'm sure you can work out the rest. The ringing of the bell opens the way for the blazing fire in our souls. At least that's what is written.
Virensiensis. So what are we waiting for? We'll visit the collector and...
It would be best if you went without me. I have some things to prepare here.
See you later, Henson.
Let me know if you see Helga.
Так, давайте обычно.
Henson said the herbs should be burned in a bowl. This must be the bowl he meant. Now we just need the herbs. A bracket on which you can hang something. Must be for the bell that Henson mentioned.
Окей, я понял.
Ah, that must be Henson's bag of herbs.
Окей. А как мне на карту вернуться? Вот так. Не очень. Но запасов вроде прилично, так что я думаю, что сможем. Окей. В общем, я неправильно.
Your feet carry you back to Virensiensis, home of the Grand Archive. On the south wall is a house whose owner, according to Henson, has the fire-eater bell in his possession. You follow the street to an estate on the south wall, which is surrounded by a fence. The paved path to the door is lined with hydrangea. You knock on the door gently, and after a while it is opened by a chubby man in expensive clothes. The man gives you a fleeting glance.
We don't want to buy anything.
He intends to close the door again without waiting for your answer.
Wait, I've been told you have a rare bell? Fire Eater.
The man pauses.
Fire Eater? How?
Before he can finish what he's saying, a red-haired woman pushes past him. She is also wearing expensive clothes and is heavily made up. After she gives him a stern look, the man disappears into the house. She scrutinizes you with greenish-blue eyes.
How do you know about that, Shorty?
I, heard from someone in the city.
In the city? But the city whose gates are closed to everyone. Of course, I believe that. Go to Tion, groundling, and don't come back.
Before you can reply, the door is slammed in your face. You go back to the rest of the group.
Doesn't look like it went too well. Maybe I should try my luck, Tangdil. I can be very persuasive.
You go back to the house and knock again. You wait and wait, but no one opens the door. You knock once more, this time more determinedly, and after a moment, the red-haired woman opens the door. She looks at you angrily.
Didn't I tell you not to come back?
I'm sorry, but I really need the bell.
800 gold pieces, and you can take the bell with you. Just as long as you leave me in peace.
That is a stately sum, but...
Короче, я тут что-то нафейлил с этим листом.
800 gold coins for the bell.
The woman takes the pouch of gold from you with a broad grin and disappears through the door, which slams shut with a loud bang.
Hello?
Have you been duped? It dawns on you that you haven't yet seen the bell. The door opens again. The man of the house pushes out a wheelbarrow containing a large object inside a sack.
May Fire Eater bring you great pleasure.
The man dumps the bell on the floor with a muffled bong. He seems anything but happy that his wife has sold the bell.
Окей, понятно. Идем обратно, но припасов уже совсем мало. Надеюсь, нас никуда не пошлют. 119, вообще капец. Припасов на 10 дней осталось. На 8 дней.
The old ruins of Wackenstein appear before you.
Я, конечно, зафейлил. Погоди, ну теперь-то понятно. Надо повесить колокол. И...
Fits like a glove.
Теперь надо позвонить ему. Окей. И он сказал, что нужно завязать это. Интересно. Походу сейчас будет файт.
Loud and powerful music follows the fog and the figures, crushing over your head in roaring waves. The force of the music clouds your senses, and it seems as if the statue of the blind guardian rises from his throne. You want to draw your companion's attention to it, but then you suddenly realize that you have a tankard of ale in your hand. You instinctively try it, and are happy to note that you haven't drunk such good ale since Ogre's death. The night becomes a colourful whirl of ale, music, dance and ecstasy. You can no longer remember why you're here or who you're celebrating with. For a few hours you forget what was and what is to come. You are completely in the here and now. You wake up the next morning. You're lying on your back and staring into a sky that is much too bright. You turn onto your side with difficulty and see your companions all around you, but no one else. The remains of a wild party, campfires, tents and ale tankards are still there, but the magic has gone. You stand up, muttering curses, and try to suppress the taste in your mouth and the pain in your head. To your great surprise, you see that the stony figure of the blind guardian has revealed a tunnel that leads into the rock of the mountain.
Окей, теперь надо пройти через таверну. А вот это что, не таверна? Может, в Табруке есть таверна? Но сейчас, если вот здесь нет еды в Сиатоне, то мы попали.
You enter Seaton and take a look round. The priest is lost in thoughts, standing in front of the temple, as if he couldn't decide whether to go in or not.
We have found the thieves' hideout.
Really? That's welcome news.
With an encouraging nod, the priest of Palandial prompts you to continue.
We spoke to the people there. It was very revealing.
And?
The priest gives you the same look he otherwise uses to reprimand the villagers' minor sins.
They say they paid Morris to sell supplies and grain to them.
The priest wants to object.
He ripped them off. That would be an explanation as to why Tavia came back this morning, don't you think?
The cogs are turning inside the priest's head. His expression reveals that he doesn't like his own conclusions.
And what about the grain and the supplies?
The refugees must have been very hungry. They'd already eaten the supplies by the time we arrived at the camp. We were able to secure most of the sacks of grain. We'll take them to the storehouse.
The priest eyes you in silence, and you look back without batting an eyelid.
Very well. You have earned this, Mr. Dwarf.
The priest brings out a pouch. He thinks for a moment, and then pulls another smaller pouch from his robes and gives it you.
It is time that my congregation concentrates once more on the essentials in life, togetherness, and the compassion of the goddess.
He leaves you standing there without another word.
Дайте саплаев. Не дали саплаев, понятно. А если я обратно зайду? Понятно, все. Мы без саплаев. В Торбруке, может быть, есть
The
саплаев.
village seems much emptier than on your last visit. Most of the workers must now be underground.
А, вот здесь может есть. Ну да, фиг там. Я могу вот это вот продать. Но припасов нету. Да?
A hard path lies ahead of you, down into the valley and then up into the snow-covered mountains. It will be difficult, if not impossible, to climb back afterwards. You should be sure that you've made all the necessary preparations before you continue.
Так, сейчас я подойду. Секунду. Так, я тут, и сейчас мы узнаем... мы идем вперед. Сейчас мы узнаем, не фейланул ли я с
You reach a
припасами.
large frozen lake surrounded by a thick pine forest. The
походу,
quickest way
фейланул.
would be to walk straight over the ice, but you don't know how stable it is. The detour through the forest would be safer, but would also take much longer.
Давайте обойдем.
The snow between the trees is deep, and you make very slow progress. The shadows are growing longer, and when you finally make it through the woods, it's already the dead of night.
Perhaps we should set up camp here before we wind up getting lost.
Давайте
You
победим.
decide to march through the night. You light torches, but the reflections in the snow, the deep shadows of the trees, and the unfamiliar surroundings confuse your senses. Although you've taken care to keep moving in the same direction, you are still in the woods after what feels like an eternity. Slowly but surely, you feel the fatigue and cold in your joints. Finally, you decide to light a fire after all. The sun rises again during the first watch. You set off again around midday after a night that was much too short. While you rest under a ledge at noon, Rodario and Fergus decide to go ice fishing, and the dwarves immediately pronounce their opposition.
Ice and water are both treacherous. They entice you to them. Before you know it, you disappear into them forever.
Like in a marriage, you mean? At first the woman entices you, but if you stay in her arms like a good boy, the good life is over all too quickly.
The good life? In which you go behind the backs of other men, get beaten up and one day die painfully of a sexually transmitted disease?
All slander, my dear.
Rodario bares his teeth for a moment and then follows Fergus to the shore.
He reminds me of a billy goat we used to have. Mounted everything that got in its way. One day he mounted a goat that was standing too close to a cliff. The two of them fell down the cliff in the best of spirits.
Okay.
It snows all day, and the cold wind continues to get stronger. The dwarves trudge stubbornly on, but at some point Fergus can take it no longer.
Oh, we are walking right into the eye of a blizzard.
We have snowstorms in the Brown Range too. If you get caught in a storm while hunting, you simply wait it out in a snow cave.
The blizzard will be on us before we can build a snow cave. We should look for a sheltered spot and light a fire.
Так.
Instead of looking for a shelter, you simply go to some crags nearby and shovel up some snow on the sides to make a windbreak. You feel better almost as soon as you leave the biting wind. Fergus lights an alchemic fire, and the closeness of your companions ensures a reasonably warm night. By the next morning, the blizzard has blown over, and you set off on your way again.
Ну ладно.
Your path leads you over a snowy, hilly plain, and as you scale a particularly steep hill, you falter. A crevasse opens out in front of you. You look around, but there isn't any point nearby where you could cross over the gap.
Главное, чтобы никакого файта не было. Потому что иначе отсутствие припасов дает дебаф.
You follow the course of the crevasse. After an hour, the end of the crevasse is still not in sight. However, you do find a cave that slopes down softly parallel to the crevasse.
Ну ладно.
You are afraid that you might get lost in the ice cave and freeze to death in misery. But ultimately, your curiosity is rewarded. You find after an hour's search a winding passage that leads you to a large chamber. You walk ahead with your torch outstretched and see a shadow in the ice. You step backwards in shock as you realize that it's the body of a frozen human. Something glittering in the floor grabs Goimgar's attention. An ornamented gold shield. Part of it is frozen into the ice, but it should be easy to free.
Pure gold! This thing must be worth quite a bit, though it would be completely useless in a fight.
Wouldn't that be like tomb raiding?
Your companion doesn't answer.
Да, давайте оставим.
It doesn't feel right. We'd best leave the shield with its owner.
You take a short break and then look for a way back to the surface. You find it quickly and continue on your way without any further delay.
Все. Наконец-то.
You finally arrive at the entrance to a valley that curves its way towards Ironhald, the firstling stronghold.
Я думаю, что мы закончим вот сейчас. И остаток уже это будет, ну, как только ролик посмотрим.
By Vracus, we've done it! Get down!
Up there!
Run! I can't maintain the spell for long!
Put him on Goimgar's shield. To the gate. Quick!
Так.
As you approach the first gate, you see guards on the battlements. You call as you run.
By Vracus, we are dwarves of the kingdoms of the secondlings and the fourthlings. Open the gate!
Their leader gives orders that you cannot hear, but moments later, the gate opens up for you.
Report back! Man the walls and the defences!
The guards follow the orders immediately.
Who are you that lead the Alpha to our door?
How dare you speak to us like that? Dwarf who seems to have no name?
Boindale steps forward before you can stop him.
I am Boindale Doubleblade, a child of the smith of Burrowin folk. And that is my brother Boindal, who needs a healer immediately.
The commander pulls down his scarf, and his face leaves you speechless.
Only a dwarf could make such a fuss. Ballandr Steelfinger. I protect the main gate of the firstlings, therefore it is my duty to regard all guests precisely before I invite them in.
But you were a woman!
You have a keen eye, Boindale Doubleblade.
The tender features and soft fluff leave no room for doubt. A female dwarf is the commander of the guard. She gives orders for the injured Boindale to be taken care of. 4 dwarves pick him up on his shield, and Boindale follows them.
Stay with your brother. I will bring the rest of you to Queen Zamtis, where you can explain what you're doing here.
Окей. Добрались. В чате остался один диамет. Iron Forge.
Come closer, and be welcome to the kingdom of the firstlings.
I am Tungdil Goldhand of the Fourthling Kingdom.
You introduce your companions one by one, not forgetting to mention the twins and the Mager too. You then explain the reason for your visit. You report on the advance of the Perish Land, the death of the Magi, and the dispute about the next High King. The dark brown eyes of the Queen fix on you for a moment before she speaks.
What you report sounds very serious, Tungdil. You can be sure of the support of the firstlings. How may we assist you?
There is only one way to defeat Nodon. Keenfire. To forge it, we need the best smith your kingdom has to offer. Help us, and thus help your kingdom, my queen.
The Queen considers, then nods.
So be it. Could there ever be a better time to revive the old commonality of the kingdoms? Ballandr here is not only my best warrior, she is also my best smith. She will accompany you.
Your eyes fall upon Ballandr, and you notice the blood rushing to your cheeks.
I will do my best. You can trust in my axe and my hammer.
We must continue on our journey to the Fifthlings in the Grey Range.
Then I will show you the entrance to the tunnels. You will be in the Perish Land within a few orbits.
You know the tunnels, but still the firstlings live in seclusion.
Our isolation was self-imposed. My mother knew that the other kingdoms would not simply accept her as the queen. She wanted to give them time to get used to it.
Your Highness, in the name of the Council of the Kingdoms, I request that you send a delegation to the Blue Range to take part in the discussions. We all have a common enemy.
There has never been any enmity between my kingdom and the others. It was more neglected friendship and habit that has made us strangers to one another. As soon as you set off for the Grey Range, we will head east to see our brothers and sisters again. I will have rooms prepared for you and your companions so that you can rest. It has been some time since we have had guests, but we still know what hospitality means. Come to me when you are ready to depart.
Окей. Отлично. Я думаю, что это отличный момент, чтобы сохраниться, потому что, судя по всему, это уже практически финиш. И мы продолжим в следующий ближайший вечер, но не завтра. Завтра будет весной. Точно. Привет, Видал, ты, как всегда, опоздал. Но есть запись на Ютубе и на Твиче, так что ты можешь посмотреть. Если тебя все еще интересует, как тут развивается сюжет. Вот. Спасибо за то, что смотрели. И окончание, я надеюсь, будет тогда в следующей части. Скорее всего, в среду или четверг. Я думаю, что надо не затягивать и уже пройти дворфов, чтобы потом выбрать какую-нибудь другую игру для прохождения. Спасибо за то, что смотрели, и всем пока. Удачи, спокойной ночи.